Today we're going to talk about North Pridgen. That's his name. Greg, tell us about the videos we're going to watch.
So North Pridgen is currently in prison for 30 years with 10 years probation after pleading guilty to second-degree murder. This young woman went to his house. There's video of him and her walking down the street and her saying, "Leave me alone." There's the video of him coming back out of the woods, wet, covered in water. And then he tried to persuade her friends on Facebook that he was her so he could get money for drugs. So this is a good one. If you're not a panelist, if you're never here, stay tuned, because this is a really good one to learn about body language and deception and lying. And if you are a panelist, there's a little bit of George Santos. There's a little bit of Teresa Balboa. Just hang in here. You'll see a little bit of everything.
Yeah. And then so it's about, you said 2 months ago is when y'all started, I guess, dating, if quote unquote, if you will.
Yeah.
So when was the last time you spoke to her?
I want to say between 1 and 2 o'clock, roughly, in the afternoon today, roughly.
On Sunday? Okay. And did you speak to her in person, over the phone?
In person.
In person? Okay. Where were you guys at when you got
my house.
At your house on Williston?
On my patio. She usually comes over every day, every other day.
And you said that was between 1 and 1:30?
Roughly.
Did she come over, or was she already there?
I had ordered her a lift over.
You had ordered her a lift to come over to your house? Where was she coming from, do you know?
Her house.
Her house? And where's that?
It's right next to the districts on Cronin off at Beach.
Okay.
It's a small little neighborhood. Ashley North, Ashley South, I believe. I have her address and all the information on my phone.
So you order her a lift,
Mm.
and then she gets to your house between like 1 and 1:30?
No, she came over way earlier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Came over around like 10, 9:30.
So you guys
Don't take my word like verbatim on that, because this is just a normal day.
Hey.
Normal day for us, you know. We don't really keep track of every second.
We're just trying to get the ballpark.
Right.
So about 10 a.m. she...
All right, Chase, what do you got?
So let's talk about his body first. His arms are jammed up into these sleeves. Hands are pressed into his shoulders. His upper arms are squeezing inward here. And he's compressing the chest and kind of protecting his torso. Wrists are torn toward the body. His joints are hidden. He's also kind of grabbing his joints, the shoulder joints. These are not quirks. This is pre-conscious protection behavior. This is the kind of stuff you see when the brain is exposed or under some kind of threat. So he's shielding arteries. Our body protects arteries when we're fearful. And he's protecting joints. It's like he's freezing in place to survive a predator. So if you compare that to this barrier behavior, he's placed objects away from the space between him and the interviewer. So he's not putting a water bottle, phone, and all that stuff in between him and the other person. Interesting. That suggests openness on paper anyway. But I think there's a contradiction. That might be fake. And if we just look at the language here, there's no emotional language whatsoever. Not once does he say her name. Not, "I hope she's okay," no concern or sadness or fear. No anger, which we would really expect to see some anger here. And when somebody's close to a missing person, you expect emotional leakage, even if they're guilty. And this is kind of a vacuum here, and nature abhors a vacuum. And there's no shared moments. He calls it a normal day, but he gives us zero details, not a meal that we had, no show that we watched, no disagreements, no conversations. That's not forgetfulness at all. That is a strategy, because the more detail we provide, the more there's a risk of being caught in a lie there. So he's not recalling the day. He's building a day that can't be challenged, or at least in his mind, that's what he thinks he's doing. He says when she arrived, but not when she left. That's not accidental. That's the exact window probably where something happened. And he kind of walls that off. I guarantee you, Greg's probably going to talk about that. But this is a textbook time omission. And if you hear omitted time, it's usually the point of highest risk in the interview. And this is when the timeline gets foggy. So pay attention. That's where secrets are usually buried. And then there's fabrication language in here. I want to say, or don't take my word verbatim. And he says roughly. These aren't hedges. Those are like, he's building in these little escape hatches for when you go after him later on this stuff. He's preloading uncertainty into all these statements so he can't be pinned down later. So we're not watching memory. Body's locked down. He's evasive. Emotions are non-existent. Greg, what do you got?
Yeah, let's start by saying this is a really good indicator. This guy's probably had some entanglement at some point with law enforcement, and he knows he needs to be polite and behave differently than we would probably do. He'd say, what the hell are you doing to me? I'm in here. Go get my lawyer. But he doesn't. He's oddly helpful, overly helpful in a way that you would expect somebody to do when somebody they love is missing. However, he's not divulging a single bit of information, having to pull teeth to get anything out of him. And I agree with you, Chase. This is not a baseline. If it is, he's a weird little man because he's making a whole lot of skin contact with skin contact. If you want to talk about soothing moves or adapters, all the movement is part of it, but all that skin on skin is even more comforting for a person who does it. And we talk about adapters, we mean a person is using something to release nervous energy or make themselves more comfortable. And I even say it, take it a step further and say it is a way of making the unknown known, the unfamiliar familiar. And so people that do this are showing a whole lot of information. He doesn't know how to make himself acceptable, or he would have said, hey, what can I do to help you? She was at my house this long, not make them pull it out. So what you hear us saying about things like adapters and all of that, if they do it all the time, it's not abnormal. It's when we see it different. So we're going to look from here on out. There's also this thing that happens when people get used to using that nervous energy in a certain way, it becomes a habit. So they do things the same way all the time. If you ever met a meth addict, even when they're recovered, they're chewing on their tongue and doing all that stuff that they do the rest of their time. Your adapters might not seem like they exist. You might think to yourself, I don't have those. Ask the person nearest you, person that's closest to you, a spouse or spouse-like relationship, because they're going to know what you do that makes you, when you're feeling uncomfortable. I used to work with an odd guy in construction that would do this all the time. And then when he would get in a really stressful situation, he would come apart and start doing it like he's petting himself with both hands differently. So pretty good one. You guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Just wasn't sure because you're smiling, and I had issues earlier. So.
You were laughing at that.
This whole thing.
Just wasn't sure. Well, this guy was really funny because he would start off doing this, and as he got more stressed, he would start doing both hands. It was really wild to watch.
At the behavior panel, our goal is to help you see behind the surface, to spot deception and analyze the true intent behind people's words. It is a mission that I personally feel strongly about, especially in today's bias and overwhelming media landscape. And mainstream media tends to blur the truth and make it really hard to see through the chaos. This is why all of us are proud to have Ground News as a sponsor. They help readers look beyond the mainstream narratives and uncover the patterns in the way that today's news really spins and frames the issues that are going on, or even just fails to cover them in the first place. Like they don't even talk about it. So for every story that you read on their app or their website, you get instant access to every outlet that's reporting on that thing. On top of that, there's a breakdown of each source's political bias. For instance, you get this report of how subjective their reporting tends to be, and if they're independently owned, or are they funded by corporations or governments, or are they getting their money from somewhere that's influencing what they're saying to you. So Ground News really helps you see the subtle ways that the media can very heavily shape our public opinion. I'm not even immune to it after studying all this psychology stuff, and it's good to be able to see behind the curtain. I'm actually in the process of writing a book. It's almost done, on media brainwashing. And I think they're one of the most practical solutions that I have ever seen. So check it out by scanning this QR code or go to ground.news/TBP. Our viewers get 40% off unlimited access, whether you subscribe for yourself or if it's a gift for somebody. Ground News is independent and subscriber funded, not by any special interests. So by subscribing, you're not only just getting a great product, you're directly supporting our work here at the Behavior Panel.
But I think this guy's marginal. I think he's marginalized in society. I think he's a really high substance use guy. So he lives on the outside of what most of us do. He's living on his mother and father's patio at the moment. Interesting. That's pretty marginalized. He ordered a lift, but he doesn't know the address. 10 years ago, I would have said that's a red flag, but a lot of people, everything that they do is in their phone, and that's probably what he did. But when he said when she came her way earlier, suddenly he's uncomfortable and he starts doing that adapter at the back of the neck and playing with the back of his head. And then he's got these big, big punctuating illustrators. And we say the brain is punctuating its thoughts when we illustrate with our hands or our head or something. And don't take my word. To your point, Chase, the thing that matters to him the most is he's trying to have an out, have an escape, have a place to go. This is a really good start for a guy trying to appear to be helpful, but not helping at all. It's really weird. Mark, what do you got?
Wait, just hang on just a second. Before we move on to Mark, tell about that thing you used to do where you'd have people go out into the mall or something to go outside and they'd be wearing something weird.
Yeah, I call it the 2 sneaker day or the laundry day exercise, either one you want to do. 2 sneakers is really about having to mask and keep people's eyes off your feet and pay attention. I teach interrogators to do that all the time. But wearing, I call laundry day, wear something you feel really uncomfortable in. I mean, really uncomfortable, and go out in public. If you want to know what your adapters are, they will scream because you'll be trying to be comfortable in that situation. Thanks, Scott. Good ask. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah. Okay. So in the late 1980s, early 90s, there was a trend hunter, a trend forecaster called Faith Popcorn. She used to produce this thing called the Popcorn Report. And she coined this phrase called cocooning. And cocooning for her was when you take yourself inside your home and you kind of isolate yourself in there and you bring in takeaway and get in videos and watch TV rather than going out to restaurants, or rather than, going out shopping, you bring shopping and restaurants to you, films to you, rather than going to the cinema. Cocooning. She saw that as a future trend, and she wasn't far wrong. The only reason I bring this up is by the way, and she said that this cocooning was going to happen because of the psychological challenge of the outside world. The outside world was getting way more unstable. People would cocoon in. Well, we see, I think, in him some really extreme cocooning. I'm going to try and do it. His hands are up his sleeves, but essentially this is the best that I can do it. But there he is, literally cocooned in. He's so barriered that there's cloth covering the whole of his body. We'll see even more cocooning later on. And so this, in this video, becomes a bit of a baseline for him. But we can still say it's most likely because of the threat of the outside world, the stress of this situation. However, even within this, we see some adapters. We see some little moments where there's some movement in there. And we see that on the idea of my house and the time. So I think this coincides both with what you were saying, Chase, and what you were saying, Greg. There's something about the time that he talks about which probably isn't quite accurate, because we see this on time, and there's something about my house that isn't quite accurate about that. Now, I don't know anything about the case. Probably none of us do particularly well. I know absolutely nothing. But just with that alone, that movement outside of baseline, I would be concerned that there's something up about the time and there's something up about the house, that probably something didn't happen at the time that he's talking about, and he wasn't at that house at the time that he's saying he was at the house, or something occurred around that. Listen, here's what I'd say about body language. All body language, and this is a principle and it's a model, so it means it's wrong but helpful, okay? All body language is a display of power or a response to a display of power. And so this, for him, is both a response to a display of power and a display of power. It's a display of a lack of power, for sure. It's a response to the power. Is it the response to the power in the room of the interrogation that's going on? Is it a response to the power of the room that the temperature might be low and the power of a low temperature? I don't know what the power is in the room, but I can speculate around that. But if we use my model, that all body language is a display of power and a response, or a response to a display of power. We just look at movement and we go, what is the power at play on that person? And what's the power vacuum that's causing these behaviors? And how is that person responding to that with either a show of no power or a show of lots of power or anything in between? That's all I got on that one. Scott, what do you got?
Where are you, Mark?
I am in Ottawa. I'm in a hotel in Ottawa. This is the kind of when you're working for the government, certainly in Canada, there's no gold fittings. Okay, there may be other countries where there are gold fittings, but here, zero gold fittings. It's about the starkest hotel room I've ever been in. I'm literally rammed up against the wall here to try and make this room look big. Okay, because it's absolutely tiny. I'll maybe show you later on just how small.
Mark, I can find you a smaller room.
Yeah, well, I'm sure there are smaller. I'm sure this is the most opulent you can get.
You need to get some more work in Dubai.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think, no government there.
All right. Okay. Well, thanks. All right. Well, usually in this section of an interview or interrogation, you're in intel collection. You're trying to get as much information about what these people know so you'll know how to go forward. Now, we're probably into this thing for a while. How long is this? How far are we into it here, Greg?
I think this is probably 30 minutes into it, 30 minutes, something like that. They read him his rights. They talked to him a little bit, just a little bit of BS, and that's about it.
Okay. Well, he's still not far enough away from the beginning to not be in intel gathering mode, and he's not in that at all. So and when you see the intel gathering, you'll see them that wide-eyed thing, and they'll be really quiet and really still, listening to everything, watching both the detectives, not just the one. It gets really, it's really still, not a whole lot happening at first, depending on the way you start the interrogation. If you come on, like, hey man, we know you did this, and it's an aggressive situation, that's different. But I don't think that's what they're doing here, because they can't really pin him yet. So they're not at that place yet. So, he's not an intel, or intel gathering, so he's just kind of going through it. Now, he looks really relaxed, but I think that's forced. To me, it looks like he's trying to, like you were saying, Chase, he's like trying to act like everything's fine. What's going on, fellas? That kind of thing, where he knows exactly what's up. But I think that looks forced to me, because his movements, though they should be, even though some of them are large, his illustrators, look how tight his arms are to his body when these illustrators are coming out, number two. And then number one, they're really jerky when he's moving around. They're not these smooth things like, hey, it's not smooth. So there's a lot going on up here. I'm sure his limbic system, I don't think it's on fire yet, but it's on. It's definitely, the pilot light is on, and there's something happening there right now. So his hands in his shirt, I agree with you, Mark. That's showing us, and Greg and Chase as well, that's showing us a lot of stress. I mean, this turns into one of the most barriered people I've ever seen in my life. Here and just toward the end here when we get there. But before that, this thing where he starts crossing his arms, he's sticking his hands in his shirt and going up that way. I've never seen that in person before. So I thought that was really interesting, trying to, as he barriers himself, at the same time adapting, trying to calm himself down, self-soothing. So he's also mixing a lot of truth and fact in here. So he's saying a lot of things that are true, and he's saying a lot of things that aren't true in there. I think he's sort of slipping those things in, because quite often you can get in, you can have the truth ride along, and you can put a little bullshit on top of it and just ride along and get past everybody. So I think there's a little bit of that going on there too, going back to Rawls' point of saying that he's getting ready for what's coming down the pike. He's opening all little doors he can, all these little chutes he can run down, little roads he can run down. I think he's prepping for that too. So this is really interesting. I don't think the guy's very smart. I don't think he's saying, here's what I'm going to do. I think he's just doing it because he's used to doing it. Because being in the drug world, you've got to be spot on. If he's living on his parents' back porch on the patio, something's up, man. I mean, you're not talking about a trustable guy here. So he's probably pretty good at lying and not being, being deceptive. So I think that's what we're seeing here. He's prepping for his future deception. How's that sound? All right, that's all I got. We good?
Yeah.
Oh, Mark, that was really nice. That was good, Chase. But
it's all I can do, because I'm in this kind of easy chair, and I have to kind of pivot myself fully forward.
Yeah.
So
One of those little birds.
Well, Mark admitted it just now.
It's the last
That it
time I'm
was-
doing that. It's too much of an effort.
Mark admitted it. It was on accident. So mine was deliberate.
It was just so, it's so, I think it's because it's so out of place. I'm not, two things I don't like, Mark. I don't like seeing you in this episode, on this show, on this channel, out of your office. I don't like seeing anything but what you're wearing, that kind of thing now.
Yeah.
It's really unnerving when
One
you
I've
show up.
managed for you. One I've managed. The other, no.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then so it's about, you said 2 months ago is when y'all started, I guess, dating, if quote unquote, if you will.
Yeah.
So when was the last time you spoke to her?
I want to say between 1 and 2 o'clock, roughly, in the afternoon today, roughly.
On Sunday? Okay. And did you speak to her in person, over the phone?
person.
In person? Okay. Where were you guys at when you got
My house.
at your house on Williston?
On my patio. She usually comes over every day, every other day,
And you said that was between 1 and 1:30?
roughly.
Did she come over, or was she already there?
I had ordered her a lift over.
You had ordered her a lift to come over to your house? Where was she coming from, do you know?
Her house.
Her house? And where's that?
It's right next to the districts on Kernan off at Beach.
Okay.
It's a small little neighborhood. Ashley North, Ashley South, I believe. I have her address and all the information on my phone.
So you order her a lift,
Mm.
and then she gets to your house between like 1 and 1:30?
No, she came over way earlier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Came over around like 10, 9:30.
So you guys
Don't take my word like verbatim on that, because this is just a normal day.
Yeah.
Normal day for us, we don't really keep track of every second.
We're just trying to get a ballpark.
Right,
That's what I
right.
said. So about 10 a.m. So you said you spoke to her between 1 and 1:30. So where did she go from there?
She was supposed to be going home.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how was she supposed to get home?
She was walking home, I insisted on ordering another lift, but she's so humble, she feels bad, and she just really said, no, let me walk, we need to save money, this and that, so.
So she left your house and walked?
Yes, sir.
Is that typical for her to walk home from your house? Or?
No, not typical. She does walk home a lot, from Zach's home into Zach's home. That is the person she does her ice with. And the person who I try to, get her to, not be around so much, not do the ice so much with.
And who's Zach?
Zach Morgan is somebody who she believes is her cousin, who she admitted to me last night. It was then said, guess what? Zach finally admitted that he was my cousin. And it's someone she has sexual relationships with, so it's very tricky. She's a clinically insane person, if you will. She has bipolar, borderline personality, schizophrenia. You can name the list. Great person, great human, worth the time and energy and the investment. But those are the facts, if that's what you're looking for.
So she's known to do ice. Have you seen her do ice before? Do you do it with her? Okay.
I did it with her on a couple times, because I discouraged her from doing it so many times that I felt like a hypocrite, and I said, you know what, I'll do it so I know what it feels like for you. And then I did it, and I told her, hey, you don't need it, I don't want you on this stuff, it's a waste of money. And the high is just kind of paranoia, if anything, and it explains why you kind of, tweak out and act a little paranoid at times.
All right, Greg, what do you got?
So, Scott, something you said in the last video, I'm going to wrap back to. This guy, he's two things. Number one, he's done this a million times. He's talked his way out of, or believes he's talked his way out of bullshit in the past. So what he's doing here is what the organism does, what made the organism successful in its own terms. And he's the smartest guy in the room in his mind. So he's trying the same thing over and over and over. One of the best chaff and redirects we'll ever see, poorly executed, is right here. And when I say chaff and redirect, I mean when an aircraft drops chaff out of the back of it, then missiles follow that chaff instead of following the aircraft. And people do it by spewing out information, lying, giving you something. They'll give you facts so that you'll seize on one of those, and then it can avoid and redirect around the dangerous facts. So they're very careful with that. He's not good at it, but one of the best things we see in the very beginning is when that detective has disbelief in his voice about what happened with the young woman. You hear him go to sir immediately, overly polite. Again, he's going back to polite. And his movement slows. Remember, we talk about fight, flight, freeze, fawn, and all of that. Well, he does a slowing of movement, which is a good indicator something's going on after all the agitation we saw earlier. And then he moves into a guarded position behind the table. I don't think it's turtling. I think it's guarded. He's behind a barrier. He's putting as much of himself in there as he could. One thing that we don't see often, this is a pretty good setup for interrogation. You're not confrontational. You're not directly across from him. You're at a corner, like we always say. There's good camera angle. And that's tough to accomplish in a lot of departments. So kudos to this police department for doing it that way. Then here comes the whole chaff and redirect, mixed in with some other really bad things. When he asked, where was she going? He says, she was supposed to be going home. Well, hold on, supposed to be. That's a push-pull word in my world. I'd say, well, what do you mean supposed to be? What happened to her? Why did you say that word? I would dig into that and poke after him, because that's an opportunity for a person to hide information. And then there's this really weird thing he does where he starts looking down at his feet and his hands as he moves them. Think about yourself. You move your hands and feet all the time. Do you go? But this guy's doing it because he's trying to act distracted and get away from the question. Then he does a whole bunch of disparaging the victim. We always say, really bad indicators, a person you supposedly love suddenly comes apart. He introduces a new storyline. Now there's this guy named Zach. It's really poorly executed chaff and to redirect. He's throwing things out, and he's now going to throw the kitchen sink. He said she's using meth. She went there usually. That's an insinuation. He's not even saying where she went. They're incest, clinically insane. Let's see what else he does as this thing unfolds, because this guy's got every tool in the world. Those aren't the funny part is then he says, but those are the facts if that's what you're looking for. No, those aren't facts or an answer. We ask you, where did she go? You did all that, and now you're trying to go around it. Let me give you an example of how to know when someone is using chaff and redirect. They give you a long-winded answer, and it is meandering and not following any kind of pattern. That's chaff and redirect, because they're looking for you to pick up. I say batter up. We got a good one. This guy's got experience. And then I got to leave with this. He is such a humanitarian. He's taken time to invest in this poor girl, even used meth a couple of times to see what it was like. And then he reaches for his neck. What a beautiful, beautiful lie. Scott, what do you got?
All right. Yeah, I agree with you on all that. One of the things I found really interesting in here, and believe it or not, this is one of the things I look for, when you say something and then all of a sudden you've got somebody's attention. And we see that happen. Because when he said, you spoke to her, last time you spoke to her was between 1 and 1:30, that triggers him. That triggers his attention. And he starts, he comes forward, puts his arms on the table. He's like, what now? Because he can't be wrong on this. This is important to him, getting this answer correct. Now, it would be for anybody if they said, look, we think you killed somebody and we need to talk to you about it. But you'd be like that. You'd be mad, number one. And number two, you'd be like this the whole time. What are you saying? Your focus would be right on that. His focus is nowhere. It's not on them. It's just he's sort of this fake relaxed thing. And then as soon as he says, you said you saw her between 1 and 1:30. That's when he comes in. So, and then it gets kind of sketchy because you hear all these things going on. She was supposed to be going down this one little road, in other words, of here's what she's supposed to do, or here's what she did, not what she's supposed to do. Because he said she was supposed to be going home, not like she was going home or she went home. She's supposed to be. Nah. That's red flag city right there for me. And he's using odd language in there as well. And then things get even sketchier because there's all these things going on that he's talking about that have nothing to do with what's happening. And with her going home, he's adding all this stuff about a ride and not knowing and things messing up. No, he should be concerned with her, where she is and what's happened to her. And here's what happened. She went home. So that's all I know. Let's move from here, trying to move this forward. I think you said, Greg, this thing was like 6 or 8 hours or something.
Yeah, long.
Yeah, and sometimes it does take that long when the person is innocent. But when the person is innocent, it's fairly easy to get a whole lot of information very quickly because they want to help you too. They're in it for let's find out what's going on here. Not just I'm protecting me if it's a loved one that they're dealing with. So, and especially since this is the last time he saw her, there's no emotion there for that. There's no emotion of, he doesn't look worried. We're seeing no grief. He's not using any words or language that says he feels bad about her or is worried about her even. Doesn't even say he's worried about her or I wonder where she is. He doesn't ask them any questions. What do you know so far? What about this? What about that? Have you tried? He does ask him if they've talked to his buddy in a few minutes. We get to that. But he doesn't look worried. Doesn't sound worried at all. So, all right, Chase, what do you got?
Yeah, and I'll skip over the should have been or supposed to be. I was interviewing a guy who worked at a casino, actually called Scott before I went in to do this interrogation. Remember that thing?
Yeah.
A bunch of casino employees. And as I was going in there, I had this one guy who was kind of a senior level guy. And I said, so, when you wrapped up on Friday, whatever date it was, when you wrapped up on Friday, what happened after you kind of locked up all the lock boxes and all that stuff? And he goes, well, I usually go straight home.
Yep.
And that is, it's so common to hear the should have been usually statements right there. But on top of that, no memory of what she said, no hug, no kiss, no eye contact, no sensory recall, visual, tactile, emotional. That's not how people remember the last time they saw someone they care about, especially if they never came back. This guy can describe drug use in detail, but when it comes to the moment she disappears, there's a void. This is what we call a detail mountain and a detail valley. It's not a memory hole. I would call it a crime window, is what that is. That's what's going on there. Then the character assassination. Y'all mentioned this. I don't know who it was. Greg, I think you talked about disparaging the victim there. How quickly he moves from like vague flattery to demolition there. No empathy, no shared accountability, no ownership of any conflict. So he frames her as unstable and unreliable and dangerous while keeping himself very clean. And that's a classic abuser tell. To paint the victim as crazy so that if she runs, nobody believes her. And if she vanishes, you've already laid the groundwork to say, see what I said? Look, she's unstable. Now she's gone. There's no concern about her walking alone. No, she just said, let me walk. He admits it's not normal for her yet. There's no fear, urgency, never checks to see if she got home. If your partner, who's, quote, clinically insane, walks off alone and then vanishes, you don't shrug, you panic, you chase, you call, you don't get calm. So in my opinion, he's retroactively normalizing an extremely high risk situation because her walking away makes his involvement kind of just convenient and kind of disappear with her. So when it comes to the drug confession that he's talking about, sorry, I'm trying to change my light a little bit and make it a little bit dimmer while I'm talking at the same time. It didn't work out. But he frames it like a noble act, like I only did meth to support her. And he's kind of saying that. But there's no guilt, no struggle, and there's no sense that he is grappling with any addiction or ethics. And this isn't confession. This is just, he's managing reputation. He's manufacturing empathy instead of feeling it. So I think the bottom line here is this is a masterclass in strategic omission that all the detectives know that this is happening. They're choosing not to pounce on top of this right away. They're letting this stuff build up. In my opinion, that's probably what's happening. When somebody disappears, people don't just remember it. They replay it. They obsess over it. They relive every single moment. But this guy just kind of moves on. And in a second, you're going to hear what he did after she disappeared, and it's going to blow your mind. Scott? Nope. Was that last? Mark, what do you got?
Lovely. Not a lot, not a lot more. So one new idea and just then a reiteration. So he moves from this, what I will call extreme cocooning from this. And you might think, okay, he's kind of opened up a little bit, but no, he's got, Chase, what you would call that figure of four barrier going on. That's my sock, by the way. This is my whole leg
I'm
coming
looking
up.
like a Muppet over here moving.
Yeah. It's like some whole yoga pose that I'm doing here. Bit painful for me. I'm not as limber as I should be. But he's now barriered in that figure four thing. I'm gonna have to get out of that. That's just gonna dislocate my hip eventually. Anyway, so moves from one barrier to another barrier. And this is just a reiteration, but it's worth mentioning again. He starts off with this idea that she is humble and she just says, let me walk. Humble, let me walk. And then suggests that she's a drug-using, incestuous, paranoid schizophrenic. And then any other mental illness you can list. Basically goes, add as many mental illnesses as you can possibly come up to that. So I don't know. I mean, everybody's mentioned disparaging the victim, but I'm not sure I've seen it done. Like with that is like kicking somebody when they're already dead. It's like your drug user would have been enough.
She did say, let me walk. She said, leave me alone.
Oh, okay.
I caught it on video.
Okay. Yeah, I've never, and then to go from, she's a really humble person to, just absolutely giving her a kicking and then going, by the way, any other mental illness that you'd like to add to that, it would be fair for you to add what you want. I've never seen a version of it like that.
Put it on my tab.
Put it on my, yeah, exactly. Let's see what he's got next. Let's see another.
So you said you spoke to her between 1 and 1:30. So where did she go from there?
She was supposed to be going home.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how was she supposed to get home?
She was walking home, I insisted on ordering another lift, but she's so humble, she feels bad, and she just really said, no, let me walk, we need to save money, this and that, so.
So she left your house and walked?
Yes, sir.
Is that typical for her to walk home from your house? Or?
No, not typical. She does walk home a lot, from Zach's home into Zach's home. That is the person she does her ice with. And the person who I try to, get her to, not be around so much, not do the ice so much with.
And who's Zach?
Zach Morgan is somebody who she believes is her cousin, who she admitted to me last night. It was then and said, guess what? Zach finally admitted that he was my cousin. And it's someone she has sexual relationships with, so it's very tricky. She's a clinically insane person, if you will. She has bipolar, borderline personality, schizophrenia. You can name the list. Great person, great human, worth the time and energy and the investment, but those are the facts if that's what you're looking for.
So she's known to do ice. Have you seen her do ice before? Do you do it with her? Okay.
I did it with her on a couple times because I discouraged her from doing it so many times that I felt like a hypocrite, and I said, you know what, I'll do it so I know what it feels like for you. And then I did it, and I told her, hey, you don't need it, I don't want you on this stuff, it's a waste of money. And I mean, the high is just kind of paranoia, if anything, and it explains why you kind of, tweak out and act a little paranoid at times. I would say last week, Tuesday and Wednesday.
So when Teresa left your house, she's walking, and that's the last time you spoke to her?
And usually her plan is to message me as soon as she gets home, so I know she's okay. She enjoys the walk. She walks from her house to the Dollar General by Huffman all the time. It's her thing.
Where does Zach live?
Okay, I have this address on my phone, and I wanted you guys to stop by him and see if he maybe she's with him, is my thing. Have you been able to talk to him?
Zach Morgan. Okay. You have a phone number for him?
Nah, he refused to give me his phone number.
I'm not familiar with that side of town, so is Minglewood close to your house?
Oh, yeah, it's
or-
close to my house. It's Brookview Elementary School on St. John, roughly around St. John's. So not too far from where I live, Silent Lakes area.
Like, would it be within walking distance
From,
from your house?
it'd be a good 4 miles that you wouldn't want to walk. Well, I wouldn't want to walk, but for her, would do it, you know. She had
And when she left your house, she told you she was going home, or you just assumed she was going home?
both.
She said she told you?
Yes, and I believed her.
Okay. What did you do after that?
I just went back and just turned my TV, turned my music up, and just relaxed.
All right, Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, just two adaptions, which, Greg, I think you noted before. Scott, I think you did as well, which is when he goes, I can't remember what hand it is. It's probably this hand here. He goes to the back of his neck on that. Look, could be tension, could literally be tension in the back of the neck, but I just think it's a real adapter. It's trying to ease the psychological situation. He does that, first of all, I noted on maybe she's with him is my thing. Maybe she's with him is my thing. My thing. What are you talking about? My thing. It's basically maybe she's with him is my redirect on that.
Exactly.
Like squirrel, look over there, look over there. And then I think he's asked, "What did you do?" And then there's another adaptation on the neck. So I would say, look, there's clearly some deception around maybe she's with him, and I think there's probably some deception on what did you do. Or stress, should I say, around what did you do? He did something, well, we know he did. By now, we know he did. But he did something that he's trying not to admit to, and he knows he shouldn't do, which I understand is murder, the poor girl. So listen, that's all I got on that one. But they're nice big movements. They're out of his, certainly, they're out of this baseline well enough. You know, that's always a big move. So it's big enough out of baseline that you'd want to pay some attention to it. Scott, what do you got on this one?
All right, yeah, going to the rubbing, the adapter on the neck and stuff, that's what he does every time something comes up and this guy starts being deceptive, he goes right to that. Because when he's explaining what happens to her when she gets, or what she does when she gets home, he starts doing that. And he's adding all this information. He's qualifying what he just said. There's no reason to be given all this extra information. Nobody needs that. Nobody wants to know any of that. They want to know what happened. He's the last one to see her. Where did she go? What was she doing? All right, what'd you do right before that? What did you do right before that? What's happening? So you try to work your way down that little path and see what happened. Nobody needs to get in there and find out all these things that go on beforehand, that kind of thing. You don't need, it's like, I don't know. This kind of thing really works me up because you can just see right through it, man. You can see him just line his hind end off. So as his stress goes up, the fidgeting increases. He starts moving around more and starts getting that weird thing. He just starts doing odd things. I've never seen anybody do some of the stuff this guy's done. So the more stressed he gets, the weirder his adapters get. And when he's talking about this guy that he's got his address, but the guy, and he says he refused to give me his number. So you gotta be kidding me. There's an issue, obviously, with that friendship, but he's using this guy as part of his alibi to help him with that. This guy, we're not dealing with a good guy here, I don't think, because so far nobody likes him. His parents don't. They're letting him sleep on the porch. I don't even put our dog on the porch.
Not anymore.
Yeah. Well,
Wait.
Hold. So no, there's something not right about it. And it could be because of his drug use and all that, which means he's been stealing stuff from the house and those kind of things. But we know something's wrong with that guy's friendship. Also, again, let's go back to that 4-mile walk for his girlfriend, and he's not concerned. If when Amber and I were just dating and she said, well, I'm going to go, okay, and she lived 4 miles away, I said, I'm just going to hoof it, man. I'll give you a buzz when I get home. Are you kidding me? There's no way. You don't let your person do that. Anybody guys don't let guys do that. Yeah, I'm going to walk 4 miles, man. I'll see you tomorrow. No, you give them a ride. Just shoot, man. Take me 5 minutes. I'll take you over there. No concern for her, enough to say, and a girl, a woman, out by herself? No, that's not going to no. That's not going to happen. Nobody's going to do that. He's not going to let her do that. So then he starts goofing around his neck again. Every time he heads to that neck, listen to what he's saying, because he's full of it at that point. So, and when he's answering this stuff, it's like, what did you do after that? And then it's like his whole body just almost goes into this freak out mode of deception. Somebody should write a book about this guy, because it's perfect, everything he does. What do you do when you lie? What's it look like? How many times have you guys been asked? So how do you know when somebody's lying? Well, go watch this guy. You can tell when he's lying.
Yeah.
He does the classics. You can't miss him. So that's what I'd say. All right, Greg, what do you got?
So I'm going to be a little long on this one because it is a master class. This is a beautiful one. And I agree with you guys. When he reaches up for his neck, we know he's being deceptive. I see that all the time in people who are not deceptive. It is a stress relief move. You see it in corporations all the time. You get a guy pinned on numbers, or he's in front of an audience and he's doing this. But this guy has no reason to be stressed if he's telling the truth. This is simple. This is just give facts. When he's asked a leading question about where she, is that the last time you talked to her? He goes, mm-hmm. That's it. The first time we hear that, that's another deviation from baseline. The base of his neck, he does several times. Now he's offering advice. We're back, Mark. I think he believes he's redirected when he says, maybe she is with him. I think he believes that redirect is finished. There's one of the most urgent grooming moves I've ever seen in my life on this. And if you pay really close attention to it, you might immediately think, well, he's just trying to appear better. I think it's more insidious than that, because he moves with more energy than anything else he's done. And all his direction, energy, and focus goes to a point, a very small point on his clothing. And then he does something very manipulating with his fingers and then throws it in the floor. He took this girl and dragged her through briars to get her to the water. My guess is he's got a briar stuck in his shirt and realizes it, because all these scratches and everything, that's one of the rare conjectures you'll hear me make. But it's a lot of energy for pulling a piece of lint and throwing it in the floor.
Didn't even think about that.
Yeah, it's big. It is big. It's probably the biggest thing in the whole thing. Yeah, and you just think it might be, but if you didn't know that he dragged this girl through briars, you wouldn't think of it, right?
Yeah, didn't know.
It's a tough one. He's all scratched the hell up from these briars. And then he says he thinks he just set the trap so he could walk out of it, but he doesn't. When he says the 4 miles, he realizes he's set himself up. He was going to say she walked 4 miles so I would never see her. Then he's like, he says, do you think it's normal? And he says, this is a real cluster. He says, she would do it, and you can hear him change cadence as he's thinking. And what's happening is your limbic brain is going, oh, I'm in trouble, and it's trying to think and trying to move and make up a sentence as you go. And this guy's not the swiftest guy we've ever seen. What parts makes him this a great class is because he's such a dumb liar, and he just keeps burying himself with stuff. Scott, I'm surprised you missed this one. At the same time, he's
see
doing
both
all that.
shoulders, so I didn't call that one.
At the same time he's doing it, he does that single shoulder shrug that you always point out that I think Joe.
I know, I couldn't tell if he was doing both or not, though, so I didn't want to do that.
Well, that chin goes to that shoulder for sure, and it's really a good indicator. And then he does a short stroke. Let's listen to cluster. All that changing the way he spoke, single shoulder shrug, a short stroke, convincing head nod that we haven't seen to now when he's trying to persuade them nervously, and then fading facts or swallowing words as he gets to the very end where he doesn't pronounce his words and just trails off. This is a good example of a person trying to go through. When you try to lie, what happens is like a balloon. You squeeze that balloon and it pops out somewhere else. Or like thinking about blockchain or something like that, you have to have a handshake between each fact or it doesn't make sense. I told you I'd be a little bit long. This detective comes all the way back to the question from the last video and said, you assume that or she said it? This kid is so dumb, he thinks that's a lifesaver. And he jumps on it and goes, both, and nod, and that quick nod is back. Then she told me, and I believed her, goes to the hardest lip compression I've ever seen in my life and locks it down. That doesn't mean he's deceptive, but a cluster of things means there's a whole lot going on here. And then the final thing he does is a really stupid and unsophisticated verbal bridge. Instead of saying after that and then, he goes and that's just an unsophisticated way of hiding time. It is a brilliant example. This is a masterclass, and I agree you could write a book about this guy. Chase, what do you got?
Explain the verbal bridge.
Yes, all verbal bridging means is a guy's hiding time. He's hopping over something. A good example, Joe Navarro and Jack Schaefer, actually, the guys who conducted the first experiment, I think, and they would have a video of a guy walking through a store, and he would steal a 6-pack as he's going through. And they would say, write what you just did, assuming you were him. And almost every person would write, I went in the store, I looked for some nachos, they didn't have them, and then I left. It's classic. People say it all the time in crime when you do white collar things that you do, Scott, when you go in and say, so tell me how your day went. Well, I went to the safe, I closed the safe, and then I went home. They didn't tell, or I went to the safe, I put the money in the safe, and then I went home. They don't tell you that they took it. They don't tell you they backed over their wife. I took the alimony check to my wife and then went home. They don't mention the real fact. So you look for, and then after that, all those terms doesn't mean a person's lying, but it gives them the opportunity to lie. And this guy's doing a very dumb version of it by just saying and. And at the very end, he said, just relaxed, and he up talks. He does an up lilt. That's a long, drawn out one, probably one of the longest I've done. But man, this guy is a piece of work. Chase, what do you got?
Yeah, I've always called it the interrogation form of yada yada.
Yeah, exactly.
But he does that.
Yep.
And this neck hold is definitely showing to be one of his tells, for sure. But there's no follow-up when she vanished. He says usually, which is a huge red flag word, you need to like tune your brain. If you're interviewing people, tune your brain to hear that word usually, and what Greg just said, and then. Her plan is to message me as soon as she gets home. And when she didn't, no call, no panic, just silence. That's not grief. That's like flatline, emotional flatline. If this were genuine concern, we'd hear something like, I kept checking my phone. I called her. I texted. I couldn't sleep. But we don't hear anything because he wasn't actually waiting on that message. And then he says, she said she was going home, and I believed her. What? Like, who speaks like this? It's vague. There's no quote, no visual, no emotional imprint of her leaving, just this clinical summary here. When we access real memories, the brain leaks a lot of unfiltered detail, like her tone of voice, the clothing, the way she walked out, maybe the sound of a door, especially after someone goes missing. That's what we get from the truth. This is just nothing. And then he says, I wanted you guys to check Zach's house first. Notice the wording. It's not driven by panic, but strategy. I wanted you to check Zach's house first. There's not, she's missing, I'm freaking out. There's no, this is way out of character for her. Instead, he throws out a name. And this is not search behavior. That's scapegoating. He's injecting ambiguity. He's not saying this person's guilty or you need to look into this guy. He's a POS, et cetera. This is an attempt to steer the spotlight somewhere else. And he says another sentence fragment, Greg, which I notice in here. He says, I turned my TV, turned my music up.
And
I think that's...
Yeah, he missed the end there, and he goes the and after. It's crazy.
Yeah. I don't think that's a stumble. I think that's aborted deception. He hits a wall like mid-story and then kind of pivots to some kind of routine that he's got. And when someone's building a lie, they start cracking. And the safest out is what other people think is normal in their head. It's like, what can I say that other people think is normal? And that's typically the default for most people. So the translation here is, I relaxed. And that's a damning thing to say when your girlfriend just disappeared. So I don't think you have the TV and the music on at the same time. So I think this is all a constructed alibi, and it's all like a bunch of holes in drywall just kind of patched up with dollar store filler.
I wonder if he's got a TV and a stereo on the patio.
I would say last week, Tuesday and Wednesday.
So when Teresa left her house, she's walking, and that's the last time you spoke to her?
And usually her plan is to message me as soon as she gets home, so I know she's okay. She enjoys the walk. She walks from her house to the Dollar General by Huffman all the time. It's her thing.
Where does Zach live?
Okay, I have his address on my phone, and I wanted you guys to stop by him and see if he maybe she's with him, is my thing. Have you been able to talk to him?
Zach Morgan. Okay. that? You have a phone number for him?
Nah, he refused to give me his phone number.
I'm not familiar with that side of town, so is Minglewood close to your house?
Oh yeah, it's
or-
close to my house. It's Brookview Elementary School on St. John, roughly around St. John's. So not too far from where I live, Sun Lakes area.
Like, would it be within walking distance
From,
from your house?
it'd be a good 4 miles that you wouldn't want to walk. Well, I wouldn't want to walk, but for her, she would do it. You know, she had.
And when she left your house, she said she told you she was going home, or you just assumed she was going home?
Both.
She said she told you?
Yes, and I believed her.
Okay. What did you do after that?
I just went back and just turned my TV, turned my music up, and just relaxed.
You didn't go anywhere or hang out with anybody else?
Nope. I usually stay away from all of my other older friends and I've replaced them with Teresa. And I've put more of my time and energy into her. Try to see that flower blossom because I know it's blossoming. So
Do you care for her a lot?
a lot.
A lot.
Otherwise, I would not be here unless I actually had to, you know.
Also, how can you help us find her?
Okay, so you have Zach's information, his address. A good idea would be to start by asking him. I know she got hard, which is crack, I believe, right? Mm-hmm. From a guy named Hassan Ware. Mm-hmm. And I think she makes her do, sexual things to get it. And I don't know if anything occurred between the two of them and escalated from there. Again, I'm just speculating and throwing things out there. I'm not accusing or,
Did it upset you that you knew she was doing
Absolutely.
Sexual things with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
You weren't good with that?
No, but, the thing is, what she taught me is to accept and love no matter what, and to not hold any types of resentment or arbor. And the thing is, I've had a history of addiction issues, so I understand it. So it's.
What were you addicted to?
I had a real problem with Xanax.
Xanax?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And mixing it with a little bit of alcohol makes you a little,
So your parents' house over there on Williston Drive, do you actually stay there, like, full-time? Inside the house?
No, I've been staying on the patio.
All right, Mark, what do you got?
Okay, yeah. So look, we're the behavior panel. So we're going to look at behavior, which is not just going to be what people are doing, their body language or their non-verbal communication, but it's going to be what they say. But it's also going to be how exactly they say it, the tonality, the speed with which they say it. And we're always looking for something that might deviate from their norm, because a deviate from the norm, and that's the norm, as Greg always says, it's not the norm of when you're sitting, at your sofa eating Cheetos. It's what's the norm for this particular situation and how do they deviate from that? A deviation from that, it's notable. And when something might be notable, you might go, okay, what's going on here? And you start some thinking around this. Here's a massive deviation for me in intonation and the speed at which something is said. A question is asked, which is, you didn't go anywhere, hang out with anyone else. And the subject here says, no. And it's a really fast no. So it's the speed with which he says no and the upward inflection in that. Now, it's not that he hasn't done upward inflection before, but it's been a slower upward inflection. It just takes longer. He said a very short word, okay, but he said that very short word very fast. We've never heard him say a short word that fast. And with that upward inflection, whereas really in English speaking, North American, you would expect a strong no to have somewhat a downward intonation and actually take a little bit longer. No. But he goes, no? Well, that's radically out of not only baseline, but also, I would suggest, the cultural baseline as well. So it's notable. So my guess would be, and it's always a guess, but I think I'm going to probably, I'd lay some money in the casino on this one. You didn't go anywhere, hang out with anyone else. Yes, he did. He did go somewhere, and he did hang out with somebody else in some way. Somebody was contacted or hung out with in some way that doesn't do well for his story, and therefore he's not going to tell us about that. Then the next bit that I love, just two things on this. The next bit that I love, the interviewer here says, who I think they both do a great job. One's very silent, but he'll come in soon, okay? And I think that's tactical as well. I think they both do a great job on this. The interviewer says, how can you help us find her? How can you help us find her? Well, he leans right forward into this with a great deal of excitement around this. Because I think he believes this is quite a softening on him. I think he thinks the interviewer has gone, oh, I don't reckon this guy's anything to do with it. Listen, how can you help us? We now need help. I think he takes that hook. He takes that bait. Now, I think we're going to have a real bait question in a few videos time. So hang out for that one. But I think this is a lovely other type of bait here. And I think it's done on purpose, where the interviewer is trying to give the impression of a softening towards this person. And he hooks it and he comes right into it. So now he's forward. Now he's more likely to be more energetic and talk more. And I believe that's what the interviewer wants out of him. More talk, more free flow of information. Greg, what do you think on that one?
Yeah, I agree with you. That I'm going to start right there, Mark, because I think that's a beautiful thing. I think he doesn't believe they have him nailed down because they start to soften just a little. Putting on that hat and going and leaning in, that's probably his baseline for saying, look, I think he believes the redirect worked. And this is a good example of a person doing, like I said, he thinks he's talked his way out of stuff in the past. He probably hasn't. That's why he's getting thrown off people's porch and that kind of thing. But what he is doing is trying to make them believe what he said. So he's doing what the organism has done. I always say the organism does what made the organism successful. Maybe successful is a relative term, but in this case, that's it. And then I think he thinks he's smarter than these two guys are. Let's just run through a handful of things. I got a ton of them. But we can now add sex for drugs to this disparagement. But he still loves her, and he talks in grandiose terms. He starts off with fading facts, to use Scott's term, where the person just swallows their words and they just disappear, at a denial of her going anywhere else, or him going anywhere else. And then he's back to usually, Chase, to something you always say, usually this happened. Then he becomes a great humanitarian again. And this is one of my favorites in this entire video, because he turns into Teresa Balboa doing the whole shoulder thing when he's talking about she's a flower, she's going to blossom. That's grandiose speech. I would have leaned over and said, hey, Freud, what the hell do you think that means? I don't know exactly what you're doing, but you're the person who's minding her psyche and going to make her better. Good, you tell me what that means. He reminds me of people who are in love with being in love. Everybody has known one of those people, and they're in a really garbage relationship, but they're still in love with the idea of being in love, and they're brutal to each other except for when they're not. And it's just, that's the kind of person this reminds me of. He's in grandiose language, and grandiose language to talk about something that's all messed up. This is a girl who, he's listed everything possible that could be wrong with somebody other than having worms, and he's going to tell us that she's about to blossom. So I would want to know and want to dig in. Then he starts to act like he isn't druggy as he starts to ask for the right words. Guarantee you this guy knows all the right words for getting whatever substance he wants. You can just see it in him. This is a really good one. Oh, yeah, last one is just for good measure. Let me give you somebody else who could have hurt her. Even uses the word escalate from there. We're back to that first movement he does. Remember, he says, well, there's this other guy, she was trading sex for drugs, and it could have escalated from there. So he's giving you a third potential person. And then he gets back to that first movement he was doing where he gets his arms back under his clothes. And it only happens when you're asking him questions about him, not about her. It's an interesting twist. Scott, what do you got?
Yeah, Britt, you said worms. He looks like he needs to be wormed. I mean, that's how the BO in that room just must be horrific. I mean, oof. Anyway, so when he says you didn't go hang out with anybody else, like going back to what Mark was saying, that's where he starts adding those qualifiers, and he gets back to that neck again, which we are, I hate to say aware of now, but I'm under the impression that says he's being deceptive when he's doing that. Goes right to it. Then he starts talking about all these other things, giving all this information they don't need. Then when he starts, excuse me, then he starts talking real quiet when he talks about how much he loves her, how he feels about her and stuff. And that voice gets that real low, gravelly thing going. So again, like you're saying, Greg, that whole thing, the fading facts, all that, it's all here. Everything is here. I don't think the kid realizes that these guys know this thing's going to end up okay. That they're setting things up to be able to smooth it out because they can't quite pin him yet on this. So I think that's the advantage they have over him. But then he starts barriering again and backing up and shutting up and shutting down when they talk about the drug use and his girlfriend. So all these things are there's so much in here. I'm trying not to go over the same stuff everybody's going over, but there's a lot of things that are being repeated in this. A lot of behaviors we've seen so far that just keep getting repeated. So Mark, what do you got?
Chase.
Oh, Chase.
So when they do say, how can you help us find her? A question like that should activate everything in somebody who cares. But he deflects. He talks about Zach and Hassan, and it drifts into this vague drug speculation. But let's talk about what's missing. I always talk about you should be an expert at looking for what is missing from a conversation first. There's no, here's what I know. There's no tightening of the timeline, which you would see everywhere. There's no emotional energy towards the search. It's a diffusion of blame. Innocent people refocus the lens. Guilty people fog the glass up. This is a deliberate widening of the suspect pool to create confusion instead of clarity. And it's a very common tactic when the speaker is the missing piece in the puzzle. And that's what happens every time. But when he says, I care for her a lot, otherwise I wouldn't be here unless I had to, let that sink in. He says he cares, but the very next phrase implies that he's only there out of obligation. This is where his emotional leakage is betraying him. There's no urgency, no distress. Caring should sound something remotely similar to, I haven't slept, I need answers, help me find her, etc. But we get this verbal duty instead of desperation. But when Hassan is mentioned, allegedly connected to some kind of exploitation of Teresa, he says, I'm not accusing, I'm just speculating. What's missing there? There's no emotional spike, no anger, no outrage, no protective instincts showing up. This is not how most men in love react to even the idea of someone exploiting somebody that they love. It's perfectly detached and it's calibrated. Anyway, so all of his stress stack up here would be the neck rub. Is that familiar stress pacifier? There's a lot of leaning in, the shoulder shrugs, there's phone fidgeting that happens here. And there's that vague philosophical quote that he throws out there, that she taught me to love without resentment. Wow. So that's a huge stack. So there's no searching, no grieving, none of that. His behavior is about diffusing suspicion, misdirecting investigators, and giving just enough emotionality to avoid being cold right there. So if guilt has a posture or a behavior, this is it. This is what you're looking for when we say guilty people. This is it. That's all I got.
Okay, Greg. Moved in quick. Give you that one.
You didn't go anywhere or hang out with anybody else?
Nope. I usually stay away from all of my other older friends and I've replaced them with Teresa. And I've put more of my time and energy into her. Try to see that flower blossom because I know it's blossoming. So.
Do you care for her a lot?
A lot.
A lot.
Otherwise, I would not be here unless I actually had to, you know.
Well, so how can you help us find her?
Okay, so you have Zach's information, his address. A good idea would be to start by asking him. I know she got hard, which is crack, I believe, right? From a guy named Hassan Ware. And I think she makes her do, sexual things to get it. And I don't know if anything occurred between the two of them and escalated from there. Again, I'm just speculating and throwing things out there. I'm not accusing or,
Did it upset you that you knew she was doing
Absolutely.
sexual things with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
You weren't good with that?
No, but, the thing is, what she taught me is to accept and love no matter what, and to not hold any types of resentment or whatever. And the thing is, I've had a history of addiction issues, so I understand it. So it's.
What were you addicted to?
I had a real problem with Xanax.
Xanax?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And mixing it with a little bit of alcohol makes you a little,
So your parents' house over there on Williston Drive, do you actually stay there like full time? Like inside the house?
No, I've been staying on the patio.
So you said that you never left your house today after Teresa left, right? Did you go anywhere before Teresa came over to your house?
I went with the Lyft driver to go get her. I made the mistake of ordering the Lyft from my address to my address. I got in the Lyft, told the Lyft driver, he was really cool. He said, "It's okay, don't worry about it. I'll go grab her and bring her back." So.
Okay. All right, so the Lyft driver came to your house first?
Right.
Inadvertently, you just...
Right.
And you didn't go anywhere else with anybody else today?
No, sir.
Okay. You didn't go any place with your friend Mickinson, Mick? You know Mick?
I know Mickinson.
Okay. You didn't go anywhere with him today?
Boy, I seen Mickinson today. I don't remember where it was, but I don't think I went anywhere in specific with him. I think I may have just seen him outside and just...
Seen him outside how?
Driving by. Just told him, good friend, I love him, stay up.
So he was just, you were just standing outside your house and he just come driving by?
Yeah, and that's happened before too. We usually catch up every time we do see each other physically.
Where does he live?
I'm not exactly sure now. I know he moved out. I know he grew up in the neighborhood I lived in though.
Okay. You remember about what time that was when you saw him?
No, I would say later on in the afternoon.
Before or after Teresa left?
After.
After Teresa left?
I would have to say.
And you said he was driving by? He wasn't like walking by or?
No, he was driving. I'm
Was
pretty sure
driving?
he was driving, yeah.
Who saw who first? Did you see him or did he?
He usually always sees me first.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did he just pull up to your house?
Yeah, that's usually how it works with him, yeah.
He just pulled up?
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't get in his car?
I think I got in his car and we rode around just for a second and, just to talk, to chat, to make sure we were both doing okay. And then he let me out and I went, walked right back inside.
Did y'all do anything while you were driving around?
Just talk.
Just talking, so you didn't smoke weed?
No, sir, no.
Does he smoke weed?
All right, Chase, what do you got?
If the title of the last chapter was I'm Here Because I Have to Be, the title of this chapter is I Didn't Go Anywhere Except I Did? Question mark. But this is a beautiful moment where the mask starts slipping. And what starts is this confidence just spirals into contradiction and body compression and a flood of linguistic hedging that takes place here. And if you're watching closely, you can see the truth getting rerouted in real time during this. This is a beautiful clip if you're here for any kind of training or if you're here for entertainment. It's also going to be fun. But he says, I didn't go anywhere with anybody else. Seconds later, I think I got in his car. That shift from definitive to doubtful is not memory degradation. That is just pure cognitive slippage. It happens when somebody's internal story of what they think is going on collides with external pressure. And that's what's happening. But it gets worse. It was, I don't remember where it was. And then it was, I don't think I went anywhere specific. These are just linguistic airbags, if we're going to just keep metaphoring the shit out of this. But they're just deployed to cushion these lies from collision with any kickback from the interrogators. But then he has like this, we rode around for just a second just to talk. When I hear that, that's a big deal. If I hear like someone grabbing a bunch of time and compressing it, he's not skipping over, he's compressing. Yep. That's a big deal. It's vagueness layering. It's an attempt to frame something incriminating as harmless, forgettable. Let's forget about it. If you're an innocent man with nothing to hide, you don't drape the timeline in a bunch of smoke. So in this clip, it's full of words like just, usually, I think, don't remember. So it's just flooded with that stuff. And as the language is breaking down here, his body does what it always does under load. He's retreating inward. So we have that huge stress stack. So the cue meaning, I think here we have, I think, I don't remember, usually. This is, let's keep going with the metaphor. This is a bunch of linguistic scaffolding to stay unaccountable. That's what that is.
What have you been reading for the metaphors and stuff lately? Something's got you on that jag.
I did read Plato's Apology yesterday.
Okay, there you go.
Might have been it.
Right.
So as soon as Mickinson enters the stage here, everything's different. Everything changes, and you can watch it happen in real time. So this is a guy wearing a dollar store costume here of innocence. Remember those costumes when we were kids that were like made out of a garbage bag? It was like printed on it.
Hobo mask.
Yeah,
man. Mark,
what do you got?
Yeah, I'm hoping Plato does a video of that apology and we can analyze that.
I can probably make that happen.
Love those apology video analysis. Okay, so what have we got on this one? So all body language is a display of power or the result, a reaction to a display of power. Of course, that's not entirely true, but it's good enough. It's a good enough start. So let's start from that. The detective here does an incredible move, which is there's something around his nose. I don't know whether it's inside his nose or the outside of his nose. I'd need 4K video to really understand this, but it's around the nose area somewhere. He messes around with that, and then he pulls it, and then he kind of deals with it in some kind of way. Now, I think this is a beautiful move, because it means either, or put yourself on the other side of that. Imagine you are the subject here, and you see the detective do this. Okay, it can mean one of two big things, a number of others, but one or two big things. I would say it either means he's just not concerned. Like, I'm even not interested in this interview. There are way bigger things in life than this interview, which is going to provoke all kinds of reactions in you as a subject going, wow, I'm off. I mean, like, he's not even concerned with this. Like, it could create hope in you, okay? Or it could cause you to go, oh, he's pretending that he's not interested. Of course, so he's bluffing me. Hang on, he thinks I'm lying. I'm in big trouble here because he's got me. Okay. Either way, this move here is provocative in that situation. It's kind of a lint pick move. It's massively provocative. And I think what's happening now as we move towards, subsequent videos is the tension is being raised by these interrogators. It's building, is building, is building. The pressure is coming. More pressure will build. But I think this display from the interviewer here is a display of power in order to provoke this situation. Greg, what do you got on this one?
Yeah, Mark, I don't know if that was before or after he does the telegraphed eye roll at the story about calling he leans back in the chair. It's so bad. It's ridiculous because the guy says, I ordered a lift from my address to my address. Anybody know if that can even work? I can't imagine it does because you have to put in locations so they can calculate. And this guy has no clue that he's that stupid. He's just like, he believes he's going to believe that. And after that, you see when the cop rolls his head back, you can watch the guy. He said the Lyft driver was really cool. And he said, I'll go get her. But he said, we went together. Wait a minute. Are we going to get her or are you going to get her? So there's a mismatch of pronouns there. Could be he's just too stupid to string a sentence together. But I think more than too stupid is this is limbic thought. Now his brain is on fire. His primitive brain, the one that's supposed to protect him, to your point earlier, Chase, he's been building scaffolding with sticks. He has no wire, nothing, just sticks. He's piling them up. And this guy has been building something that he can't sustain because he's just not smart enough. He's throwing out facts. He's squeezing a balloon and it's popping out somewhere else. I'm going to use one of yours, Mark, here, because there's a second time we're here, sir, when asked, you didn't go anywhere else. And he said, no, sir. And he goes and does the peach sniff. And I'll let you talk about that in just a minute. I'll push it back to you, the peach sniff, because when a person's marking that and they haven't to now, it's significant to them. And then when you watch this Mickelson guy get brought up, he bites his lip for the very first time. Does biting your lip mean you're lying? No, it means something changed. And then he does the most dramatic move we've seen to now. His hands go to the top of his head. That's an adapter. He makes contact with that back wall. That's an adapter, meaning he's releasing nervous energy. He says, boy, blocks himself out and says, I seen him. I don't know where it was. But I don't think we went anywhere specific. Well, this is the guy who turns him in, by the way. And then he does, what's the guy's name? Caleb Wisnett, who said family ain't family without family. He does a sentence like that where he says, we usually catch up every time, mumble, mumble, mumble. We do see each other physically. Well, what the hell is he talking about? That's his brain trying to string together the most successful defense sentence he possibly can while he's doing squirrel in the road and his brain is just jumping around. Mark, you want to talk about your
Chris Watts?
Yeah, exactly. That he's almost swaying, but yeah, it's just all that superheating his processor and he's putting his hands up there to protect it. Mark, you want to talk about your little dog and what she uses as a threat?
Yeah. So look, primates, we and other primates do these snorts in or out, more importantly, to mark territory, to be to take territory, to show others that we're there, to display our power. And even my little Maltese dog, Maltese Shih Tzu, tiny little dog that we have, Peach, I noticed that she does it as well. She'll do it to gain attention. When she wants a snack, she'll give a snort. If she wants to take some territory and go, that's mine, she'll give a snort. And now I often snort back at her and she'll snort back at me, and there'll be a little bit of a battle around that. And then I'll usually come in and pretend bite into her neck. And then she rolls over and she goes, oh yeah, you're the boss. You're the boss. You're the biggest one. You're the biggest one here. So lots of lovely, hey, listen, if you've got a dog, we've all got dogs. We love having dogs around. In fact, Greg and Chase have got many dogs. Scott, have you got one or more?
We have one.
You have one, yeah, same as us. We've got one. But anyway, I know there's a lot of the panelists out there have pets and dogs and all kinds of things. So maybe put in the chat below what you've noticed, the body language of your animal friend, what they do, and compare notes on that. Scott, what do you got on this one?
You guys send me email or text me pictures of your dog that you want on here, and I'll put them up here while we're talking about them.
All right, lovely.
That works.
And it's your dogs or whatever. And so, Mark, let me get this straight. You're down the floor doing this with your dog?
Down on the floor, up on the sofa. Yeah, but wherever, you got to dominate your dog. You have to show the dog. After it's snorted a bit too much, you have to show who's boss.
Well, now we all have pet names. We call our dogs by their name. They have a name, but we also have pet names for our dogs. Like little extra names. What is it you call your dog? The that extra thing. It's not just Peach. I can see it. Something. What is it?
Dog.
Okay.
Come on, dog. Come on, doggy.
Oh, okay. I thought it was going to get all cornball.
No. Just dog.
What do you got, Greg?
Well, I got a bunch of dogs, of course. My big dog named Leonidas is just Leo. He's, lion-like. He's a 200-pound mastiff, as you know. I got a little bitty dog I call Little Booger. That's not her name. That's she's a crazy little thing. Then I have a dog called Little Bear and another one that's called Sugar. I just call her Puppy. So yeah, you do that.
Chase?
No, just use their names.
Yep.
No, you don't. Don't give me that, dude.
I have one dog named Mila, and we call her Meals.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's about it.
There we go. All right. So when this guy starts talking, notice how loud he gets when he's competent. When he's being honest, this guy, man, he just gets loud. It's so loud it's distorting the microphones. And it's doing it on the video. That's how loud he's getting. So everything he's talking about can actually be proved. All that stuff actually happened. He has no problem. He's not being quiet about that when he's talking about how much he loves that girl, and it's really, really quiet and all gravelly and stuff. This guy's being loud. So every time he's loud so far, and he's being almost, overbuoyant, or I don't know what you'd call it. It looks like a bon vivant, Mark, when he's talking about things that are true, that he can prove, they can be proved. And so when his friend Mickinson comes up, that's when he starts shutting down again, because there's an issue there. So something's up with that. Something didn't happen. We're going to find out what happened here in a little while, but something didn't happen the way it should have with this guy, and he knows it, but he doesn't know these guys know it, which you'll find out here in just a few minutes. So he's caught in a lie, and he's trying to make everything okay, if you'll notice from what was going on in there. So he's trying to make everything okay, and he thinks everything is fine by the time he's finished with his video, with this section of this. He thinks everything's okay, and it's not. I'm going to keep that short because it's leading into the other stuff. So, all right, we good?
Yep.
All right. Okay, Mark. Sorry, Chase. I want to kind of I want to kind of split it. But man, that was good.
I get it. You've got to give it to someone else every once in a while.
Core strength that took to pull myself forward in my chair.
Yeah.
Prize. I need
You
a
say
medal.
that Mark
You do it with your arms in
explained-
your shirt.
Mark's excuse is how much effort it took, not how good it was. Pay attention to that. From an actor, you get this bullshit.
Yeah, and I want a prize. It was worked hard, and I want a prize.
Hey, you got something, didn't you, from Sadie? We all got something.
Yeah.
What was yours?
Yeah, but that's not enough. I want more.
Okay. Give him something in the comments, everybody.
So you said that you never left your house today after Teresa left, right? Did you go anywhere before Teresa came over to your house?
I went with the Lyft driver to go get her. I made the mistake of ordering the Lyft from my address to my address. I got in the Lyft, told the Lyft driver, he was really cool. He said, "It's okay, don't worry about it. I'll go grab her and bring her back." So.
Okay. All right, so the Lyft driver came to your house first?
Right.
Inadvertently, you just...
Right.
And you didn't go anywhere else with anybody else today?
No, sir.
Okay. You didn't go any place with your friend Mickinson? Mick? You know Mick?
I know Mickinson.
Okay. You didn't go anywhere with him today?
Boy, I seen Mickinson today. I don't remember where it was, but I don't think I went anywhere in specific with him. I think I may have just seen him outside and just...
Seen him outside how?
Driving by. Just told him, good friend, I love him, stay up.
So he was just, you were just standing outside your house and he just come driving by?
Yeah, and that's happened before too. We usually catch up every time we do see each other physically.
Where does he live?
I'm not exactly sure now. I know he moved out. I know he grew up in the neighborhood I lived in though.
Okay. You remember about what time that was when you saw him?
No, I would say later on in the afternoon.
Before or after Teresa left?
After.
After Teresa left?
I would have to say.
And you said he was driving by? He wasn't like walking by or?
No, he was driving. I'm
Was
pretty sure
driving.
he was driving. Yeah.
Who saw who first? Did you see him or did he?
He usually always sees me first.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did he just pull up to your house?
Yeah, that's usually how it works with him. Yeah.
He just pulled up? But you didn't go, you didn't get in his car?
I think I got in his car and we rode around just for a second and, just to talk, to chat, to make sure we were both doing okay. And then he let me out and I went, walked right back inside.
Did y'all do anything while you were driving around?
Just talk.
Just talking, so you didn't smoke weed?
No, sir. No.
Does he smoke weed? Any reason why Mickinson would say that you did something to harm Teresa?
No. Did he?
I'm asking you.
No.
No? There's no reason for him to say that you did something to Teresa and then threw her in a lake?
What? No. Are you no?
I'm asking you these questions, and,
No, sir.
because I asked you before if you had left your house, gone anywhere. You said no.
My house, right?
Yeah, your house.
Hmm.
And then you said that Mickinson just kind of rolled by, you guys said what's up, and that was it. That went from that to now you in his car, rolling, driving around.
Right.
So
I don't remember exactly the exact step by step, how my day goes, because I don't,
well, the biggest thing here, North, is finding Teresa.
Absolutely.
All right. And we brought you down here because, you want to help us find her. But at the same time, Mickinson is telling us that you guys are riding around. You said that you killed her and threw her in a lake.
No, I did not say that. I did not say that.
So you're saying he's a liar?
Yes, sir.
Why would he lie about that?
I have no clue.
I mean, could you have just said that to him in jest?
No. That's not funny.
Then where'd that shit come from, man?
I don't know. I'm really kind of pissed off right now.
What, are you pissed off at him?
Yes, sir.
Because you see how that looks, right?
Absolutely. This is my life on the line if anything happens to Teresa.
All right, Greg, what do you got?
So I'm going to leave the bait question for you guys to describe, but I'm going to talk about denial. Usually when somebody gives you a bait question and asks you why, is there any reason that? You know what you usually do? You go, hell no, there's no reason. You don't go, what? What? This is one of the weakest denials we've seen in 5 years of doing this show.
Yeah.
What? What are you talking about? This is Chase, you do the better impersonation of him, but it reminds me of Michael Peterson in The Staircase when they said he claims he had sex with you. And what did he say?
Where?
Yeah, exactly. It's not even that animated. It is the saddest attempt at diversion I've seen ever. And I think it's because his limbic brain is on fire, and this cop does a great job of slowing his question cadence and moves into that question to try to push him into pre-confession. I'll leave that for you guys to talk about in detail. And then how does he answer? No, did he? There's a bunch of words in there you can't even understand. I don't know what the hell he says. When he's asked about what he did at the lake, what he did and the lake, you see fake surprise. It's real surprise is powerful. Their face jumps up. I was walking through the airport yesterday. Two women who knew each other were walking in different directions and didn't expect the other. And you see their face in surprise and then a big smile break out. We don't see that in this guy's face. We see just kind of drop. And then when the cop puts this guy on notice and starts driving into him and starts to lean on him, you can't miss it because his brain starts looking for any port in a storm. Because he says something about your house, and he says, my house? So why is he trying to clarify a point about his house? I don't get it. Then when he's asked, let's see, there's a short stroke head movement of no, and a mantra speaking while breaking eye contact about did you do anything? Is this guy telling the truth? And then he says, is he a liar? When he says, asks Pridgen, is he a liar? Pridgen swallows his words, goes to fading faction. Well, words disappear. Short strokes his head nod, goes, yes, sir. This is a cluster with a voice fry, a loss of animation, a loss of volume, all the things we expect to be exactly the opposite. We expect demonstrative movement to say, no, hell no, I didn't do it. This could be a realization that somebody threw you under the bus, but that usually causes you to be rage-filled. If one of us thought somebody threw us under a bus, we would go after them. We wouldn't swallow our words. We wouldn't short stroke our head nod and yes, go yes, sir again, and go to voice fry. It's just not right. Chase, you want to talk about bait question?
Yeah, let's talk about the bait question. So a bait question is also referred to as a mind virus. And the reason we ask a bait question is because an innocent person will instantly have no anxiety or stress about that question. But a person who's guilty is wondering how much you know. And you're forcing them into a corner of, I either have to admit a tiny piece, this one little thing that might be true, or B, I have to deny this and I might get called out in deception here and they're going to know I'm guilty. So it's very stressful, and it's great for interviews because it's very stressful for guilty people only. So is there any reason there would be a video of you doing X? Is there any reason one of the neighbors would say that they saw you doing X? We actually did one of these on the Dr. Phil show, and it was pretty cool. But when he says what, that's not surprise. That's a man buffering is what's going on. And let's keep going with the metaphors. Let's go ham on these metaphors here. So that's a stall signal. This is the brain begging for time to recalibrate. And then comes that fragmented, repetitive speech. The no, then there's, I think, another no. That's not denial. That's a lie hitting a wall at 70 miles an hour. He's not rejecting the accusation here. He's trying to find a version of denial that won't backfire. I just remembered where the metaphors are coming from. I listened to a Hunter S. Thompson audiobook on the plane like a week ago.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then he says, I don't remember the exact step-by-step of how my day was. Just moments ago, he gave pretty structured time references, but now the interrogator is calling out this, what we call in the military timeline creep, from never left the house to riding with Mickinson. And so he collapses the whole day. That's not a gap in his memory. That is a retreat from anything that could incriminate. And that's all that you're really seeing there. It's very simple. There's not a lot of complex crap in this video. But listen closely. He says, I don't say that. I don't say that. No, I didn't. I don't. And then he says, yes, sir, another politeness spike. But every phrase here gets softer and less stable and less assertive. That is what I call emotional regression. Scott's got a great description for this too. In the behavioral hierarchy of the room, he just dropped to the bottom. So the softening voice doesn't prove guilt, but it's a loss of dominance. It's a spike in fear, and it's a whole lot of rising internal conflict, worrying about getting in jail, probably. But he says, oh, I'm kind of pissed off right now. Kind of? Interesting. But then he says, it's my life on the line if anything happens to Teresa. This is just reactive panic. He doesn't say, I didn't do it. He doesn't deny anything. And there's so many leaks here. There's so much in this video. I could go on for 45 minutes. I've got a lot of notes, but, and don't forget, all of our notes are in a PDF that you can kind of just click down in the description down there. You can get all of our handwritten or typed notes, however we take notes for each episode. You can download them in a little PDF down in the description. Scott, what do you got?
All right, yeah, he falls hard for this bait question. And the guy set it up great. You know, he just comes right in with it. But when he says, no, did he? He starts getting quiet and then gets that gravelly voice again. And then, of course, all this says deception all over it. Then he freezes and he locks down and he focuses on the detective because, again, he's wanting to know what this guy knows because he doesn't know. going back to earlier how he wasn't in that collecting intel mode. Boy, he is now. He wants to know exactly what's going on, how much these guys know. So when he's asking a question about him throwing her in the lake, I think we hear the quietest no we've ever heard on this channel, even counting Candace Wells when she went, no, like that when we were talking with her on Dr. Phil. So a lot of firsts on this episode with this guy. So when he's confronted with that statement about Mickinson and saying that, he said you killed her or whatever. Well, shoot, why didn't he say? Because anybody else would say, then he did it. He said, I did it. I'm telling you, man, it wasn't me. He did it. He would have gone in hard on that if he had actually not done it. That's the first place your brain would go, your mind would go. Why would you do that? Oh, man, because he did it. Doesn't say that. Doesn't get emotional. Doesn't, even though they're saying she's dead, he doesn't show anything, any sorrow, any grief, anything about that because he's worried about himself. And that's what we're seeing, that self-preservation mode he's gotten into there. So he should have gone right to, then he did it and should have exploded. And when you get a bait question like that, a lot of times what they'll do is just say, would there be any reason at all for your DNA to be in that room? Where whatever it is happened, eyelashes, spit when you're talking, shoot, man, they got these things, they find all that stuff, hair, any skin cells, they collect skin cells. Are you kidding me? And any reason for that? They'll say, shouldn't be. I can't imagine why there would be. No, unless you put them in there. No, it wasn't me. You ain't gonna find nothing of mine in there. So they'll go hard when it comes to saying, no, it wasn't me at that point. But no, he doesn't. He's like, what did he say? Or did he say something? So, which I thought was, I LOL'd on that one, left out loud on that one. So I thought it was a really good one. But we don't see any grief. The grief we should see if he's actually worried about somebody he loves, who you just brought her up and said, he said you killed her. Didn't go to where he should have gone, and he's not worried about her. That's alarming, I would think. Mark, have you been?
No.
Okay, then you go.
Look, we get a strong movement from the subject from their baseline. That what? we've never really heard him speak like that before. It's out of baseline, and it comes after the, I think, reiteration of that bait question. Look, that non-verbal response, all body language, all non-verbal is a response to power or a display of power, either the positive or the negative. His response is out of baseline. That would suggest it's a powerful question to him. Just as if somebody was innocent, it would be a powerful question because they should deviate from baseline and get very angry. Yeah, they should get, why are you wasting my time with this? No, obviously not. I've never been to that place. This is ridiculous. It should get more extreme. It's a powerful question. That's why they ask the question. They reiterate it. He's clearly destabilized by this. Now, does he admit to the crime? No, he doesn't. It's not so destabilizing that he goes, yeah, whatever, I did it. You got me. Yeah. But we can see how it destabilizes. Now, these two interviewers know that was a powerful question, and they see that destabilization, and you see both of them move in. Both of them come forward. They both synchronize with their body language. They take up his territory, and they now start pushing the power of themselves into his territory. So that would be a signal for me that these two have recognized together that they're onto something here. Yeah, they knew they were onto something, but I think they've gone, okay, this is now working. That was a nice move. Let's move together on this one. Lovely synchronization from the two of them. It's a beautiful little dance that's going on between the three of them.
Any reason why Mickinson would say that you did something to harm Teresa?
No. Did he?
I'm asking you.
Mm-hmm. No.
No? There's no reason for him to say that you did something to Teresa and then threw her in a lake?
What? No. Are you no?
I'm asking you these questions, and
No, sir.
You know, because I asked you before if you had left your house, gone anywhere. You said no.
My house, right?
Yeah, your house.
Hmm.
And then you said that Mickinson just kind of rolled by. You guys said what's up, and that was it. That went from that to now you in his car, rolling, driving around.
Right.
So
I don't remember exactly the exact step by step, how my day was, because I don't,
well, the biggest thing here, North, is finding Teresa.
Absolutely.
All right. And we brought you down here because, you want to help us find her. But at the same time, Mickinson is telling us that you guys are riding around. You said that you killed her and threw her in a lake.
No, I did not say that. I did not say that.
So you're saying he's a liar?
Yes, sir.
Why would he lie about that?
I have no clue.
I mean, could you have just said that to him in jest?
No. That's not funny.
Then where'd that shit come from, man?
I don't know. I'm really kind of pissed off right now.
What, are you pissed off at him?
Yes, sir.
Because you see how that looks, right?
Absolutely. It's my life on the line if anything happens to Teresa.
Mr. Pridgen, how'd you get all banged up, man? You're limping, you got scratches and red marks all over you.
I played basketball and it got a little rough. My ankle is from the
Who'd you play basketball with?
a whole bunch of friends at Huffman.
Today?
Yes, sir.
So that's another place you went that you didn't say, that you forgot about earlier?
Oh, if you would have asked me through what I did throughout my whole day, I would have gone through the whole day with you.
Y'all play some rough basketball, man. I played a lot of basketball growing up too, and I got all scratched up.
Huffman is different.
Yeah.
Huffman is different.
Y'all ball hard.
And I haven't balled in a while too, so my body wasn't.
Okay.
I played some basketball too. I didn't get scratched up like that. The only time I got scratched up like that was when I was trouncing through the woods.
I get what you're implying, but that.
Well, do you get why we're implying it? We didn't make it up, right? Somebody's saying this. Obviously, somebody's very concerned about this young lady, as we are.
Yeah.
Right? So if something happened to her, be it by you or someone else, most important thing we can do now is focus on working together and trying to find her, right? So
Absolutely. And I'm here to do whatever I can to help.
All right, so where is she?
I do not know, sir.
I think you do know.
Okay, and I'm willing to do whatever I can to help you, but I can't just make up a lie and tell you that I know where she's at when she doesn't.
Well, what's Mickinson's background then? I mean, is there some reason why he would say this?
He's just an old friend of mine.
Has he ever been known to be an off-the-wall kind of guy with this kind of stuff? I mean,
Is he gonna make some shit up about you?
I haven't really associated with Mickinson in the past year or so.
yeah, but he just happened to be driving by today, and y'all got in the car and we're chilling together, listening to music and talking. So, I mean, what were y'all talking about?
Nothing, just life like we always do. He usually tells me about where he's at in life. I usually tell him about where I'm at in life, just stuff like that.
All right, I'll go first on this one. Apparently, he looks like he's been playing basketball with like 40 little kittens who've just been climbing all over him while he's playing basketball. He's got that many scratches on him. And Greg, I didn't know that there were a bunch of briars and stuff in there. Man, that makes me go, geez, I wish they had paid attention to that and seen him pull that thing off his shirt. I'll bet you $1,000 you're right on that. I'll bet you that was what he pulled off his shirt. I didn't even put that together because I didn't know that there were a bunch of briars and stuff in there. So when they go really hard on this thing about the scratches, he shuts down again. And then when they get to all right, where is she? He doesn't contract his words. He says, I do not know. Instead of, I don't know, man. I don't know. it's not coming right out. He's thinking about it, and then he's letting it loose. That's why it's I do not know. So when the second detective comes in hot, and he starts adapting with his hands, and he's getting all still as he's doing that, and his voice gets really weak and meek, and you can see those hands down. It looks like a witch getting ready to do something, as they think about something. So I think these detectives are doing a great job on this. I really do, because that guy in the back is held back. He's not doing anything. He's waiting for his spot to come up. When it does, he goes in. I think personally, from that perspective, I think they've worked together a lot, because they're not having to check each other, not looking. One's not talking over the other one, anything. That other guy's back there just waiting, like until he pushes a button and he comes in. So I don't know. It kind of gives me a buzz. I like it when that kind of thing happens. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, I love this. The subject here says, I'm here to do whatever I can to help. I'm here to do, and listen, if I were acting that and it were true, I'd probably gesture to me and I go, look, I'm here to do whatever I can to help. Yeah, and that probably looks pretty realistic. Let me show you what the subject does on this one. He goes, I'm here to do whatever I need to do to help. This for me is somebody who's going to be like pushed like a medicine ball, pushed a football, a soccer ball. And he's going, I'll catch the ball, but don't hurt me. Don't hurt me with it. This is a protective gesture, not one that says I'm open. I'm here to help. Like, tell me what to do. I'll do anything because this is, somebody I love and I've got to get this done. Like, when did you last do this gesture here? Well, I tell you what, the last time you did that gesture here, you were in big trouble, and you knew you were in big trouble. He's in big trouble right now, and he knows he's in big trouble. Chase, what do you got on this one?
I've worked with a lot of prisoners in my life. And when somebody's had cuffs on before and they've been intimidated, their body memorizes this little plea for help gesture, like in one of those old movies. Please, sir. Like asking for food, a piece of fruit or something. When he says, I played basketball, that's not just a weak alibi. That's just bad improv. And the interrogator doesn't even need aggression. He just needs logic. And that's what he does. I played basketball too. It's the quintessential line from Meet the Fockers. I have nipples, Greg. Can you milk me? It's the same line. It's just the same logic line there. This not an accusation is just a reality check. It's a grounding tactic. And North responds by saying, I get where you're implying. That's not a denial at all. There's no confession there. It's a key behavior when a subject knows the truth is visible and they're scrambling to control how it's interpreted. But earlier he said he didn't go anywhere, and now suddenly he played basketball. He was driving around with Mickinson. But then he says, oh, you know what? If you had asked me about my whole day, this is defensive reframing. It's a classic move. It's very common, actually. But he shifts the blame to the interrogator for not asking the right question. There's no truth seeking there. This is evasion. In truthful recall, people volunteer relevant information. In deception, they withhold and reframe, and like Greg was talking about earlier, they chaff and redirect. But then he says, I can't just make up a lie and tell you I know where she's at. Notice how that's framed. He wasn't accused of lying. He was asked if he knows something, and his answer is a hypothetical moral stance. It's hypothetical. So it's misdirection disguised as principle here, and a huge red flag. And he says, I haven't really associated with the Mickinson in the last year. Oh my Lord, it's going deep. The deception here is just like in your face. The contradiction is massive. So it shows that like he is rewriting relationships in real time, like right in your face. He's rewriting history. Innocent people don't do that. Innocent people add details to stories as they go through. But you don't see it like this. I don't know Oh, yeah. One more. He says, we're not just talking about life, where I'm at, where he's at. This is an empty container language. There's no detail, no scene, no sensory commentary there. It's just weird and specific. But we should have specifics, but we're getting fog. This isn't a memory. It's just smoke. It's all smoke. And it's, I want you, and like maybe it sounds like, oh yeah, I knew that as you're watching this, but I promise you, if you start just tuning your ear a little bit to listen for smoke, you're going to hear it everywhere. You'll even hear it at networking events and dinner parties, not when somebody's being deceptive, just when they just want to jump over a topic or something's getting stressful. If you're in sales, and you'll hear these little smoke signals of someone kind of vaguely jumping through stuff, you'll know you either need to never talk about that again, or you need to start asking questions about that thing, depending on the situation. Mark, what do you got?
No, I'm done. I think it's Greg.
Yeah. So, Chase, when you're talking about people doing that, what they have the luxury of is a brain. This is one of the stupidest people we've ever watched, in my opinion. It may be a substance issue, don't know. But what he has done is disjointedly think of his alibi and all the situations. And in fact, opens another door and says, well, I was out playing basketball. Well, hold on. You said you were at home all day. Now, like you said, now he's cascaded down to his third foray out into the woods, out into doing things. So what he's doing is squeezing the balloon. And what he has done is to think that he will be able to just shift right over those topics. Same thing you're talking about at any kind of a social event, when a person avoids something. You know, when you have something really rough in your life and you don't want to talk about it. Like I met a guy who's 80 the other day, was telling me about a time when he was a CEO and then he had a drug problem and was fired. And he brought it up casually in a conversation, and I asked questions and we talked about it. Most people would find a way to avoid what happened and to get away from it, but he didn't, because it was part of his healing, I think, and that's part of it. It's interesting to watch him because he commits one lie after the other and he just keeps doing it. I think this guy's a wood-fired operation. I think he's just not smart, and that's part of it. Could be substance, but he hasn't thought about the whole picture. He thinks about problems as they approach. We're now 3 trips. A simple approach to this would be, why did you lie to us in the beginning? And they do, they'll get there. But right here, they don't. They just go poking. And then Chase, here's another indicator he's stupid. He should say, they should have asked me that question in the beginning and I would have answered it to his attorney, not to the guy who's interrogating him right across the table and feeding him exactly what you need. When he says, I get what you're implying, this is a really good, powerful one, because he looks down and he looks at those clothes again. And then he looks around down into his internal voice before he raises his head back up. I think he knows that he's got something in his clothes that they're looking at. And then this thing, Mark, where he's doing the first time we've seen it, I wonder if it's skin touching. I agree with you, Chase. People, when they're in front of cops and they know they're going to be in trouble, they've been before they put their hands together. It's just the nature of them. So, because they don't want to fight. This is the single best indicator. We always hear people say non-contracted denials mean somebody's lying. We've all had problems with that and said, yeah, maybe not. This one is the single best example of it we've seen. This guy's red flag boy all over. I love it. It's a big non-contracted denial when asked, do you know where she is? I do not know, sir. Very specific. Maybe the most classic example of that red flag, with a cadence shift, overly polite, non-contracted, followed by long silence and internal voice eye accessing. That looks really bad. I think we got a dumb guy who thinks he can lie about pieces without taking them together. Abraham Lincoln once said, no man can be a good liar without a great memory. And that's the problem. I don't think he has one.
He also said, never trust the internet and facts.
I read that as well.
Well, you know, I think Mark has proven that people were watching us as far back as the Bronze Age, so he might have known.
Yeah.
I think it was either Lincoln or Steve Perry from Journey who said, don't stop believing.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Pridgen, how'd you get all banged up, man? You're limping, you got scratches and red marks all over you.
I played basketball and it got a little rough. My ankle was from the
Who'd you play basketball with?
a whole bunch of friends at Huffman.
Today?
Yes, sir.
So that's another place you went that you didn't say, that you forgot about earlier?
Oh, if you would have asked me through what I did throughout my whole day, I would have gone through the whole day with you.
Y'all play some rough basketball, man. I played basketball growing up too. And I got all scratched up.
Huffman is different.
Yeah.
Huffman is different.
I'll ball harder.
And I haven't balled in a while too, so my body wasn't.
Okay.
I played some basketball too. I didn't get scratched up like that. The only time I got scratched up like that is when I was trouncing through the woods.
I get what you're implying, but
Well, do you get why we're implying it? We didn't make it up, right? You know, somebody's saying this. You know, obviously, somebody's very concerned about this young lady, as we are.
Yeah.
Right? So if something happened to her, be it by you or someone else, the most important thing we can do now is focus on working together and trying to find her, right? So you,
absolutely. And I'm here to do whatever I can to help.
All right, so where is she?
I do not know, sir.
I think you do know.
Okay, and I'm willing to do whatever I can to help you, but I can't just make up a lie and tell you that I know where she's at when she doesn't.
well, what's Mickinson's background then? I mean, is there some reason why he would say this?
He's just an old friend of mine.
Has he ever been known to be an off-the-wall kind of guy with this kind of stuff? I mean,
Is he gonna make some shit up about you?
I haven't really associated with Mickinson in the past year or so.
yeah, but he just happened to be driving by today, and y'all got in the car and we're chilling together, listening to music and talking. So, I mean, what were y'all talking about?
Nothing, just life like we always do. He usually tells me about where he's at in life. I usually tell him about where I'm at in life, you know, just stuff like that.
Your story's got a lot of holes. So, I mean, that's just being honest with you, you know? And you can't explain it.
Yeah, and it's our job to.
Okay, I understand. I've tried everything I can with you guys. If there's anything else, you know, more related to Teresa and helping her out, I would love to talk about
That's
it.
what we're trying to get to.
Yeah.
We're trying to get you to help us find Teresa.
Okay, no,
you were the last person that saw her.
Right. Okay. No,
You were the last person that
I don't understand why I didn't make sure that I wore the high top Nikes instead of the Sperry's, and it cost me my ankle, and you know, and that's how we live and we learn. And
But you understand we're going to come at you
no, I
very careful because you're the last person that...
No, and I can respect that and totally understand
Right.
that. Yeah.
So, if you wonder, why, well, A, there's a lot of things that you were inconsistent about, okay? Call it lying, call it inconsistent, label it whatever you want to label it. But the evidence is there that some of the stuff you told us when we started our conversation, right, is not true. It's just not true.
I'm sure that happens a lot with this type of situations.
Well, it
because
does,
it's so hard to recall things.
Sometimes when there's weeks in between, it's hard, but not just a few hours, you know? At the time we started talking to you this morning, there's only been like 12 hours in between this happening and when we started talking.
I'm sleep deprived now at this point. I've been kept in a room. I've been able to get sleep. It's been rough on me. Now, if you guys want to do this again on another day, then maybe I can do it for you, but at this point, I'm done.
Are you worried about Teresa? I mean, do you think there's legit something wrong with her, or do you think she's just out there shacked up somewhere?
I'm praying that she's shacked up somewhere.
Because when you pull that...
tell you? What's your heart tell you?
We spent 2 or 3 days pretty much stuck in some guy's house. He's a tattoo, he does tattoos. His name's BJ. We went over there one day with her and her friend to get a tattoo, right? And so I was like, okay, that sounds like fun there to watch her get a tattoo. We ended up spending 3 days there because the tattoo artist was not comfortable doing the tattoo. He kept like messing around, pulling drugs out, obviously trying to do things, obviously trying to like pull Teresa towards his way, and it ended up going day after day. And on the third day, I honestly, I gave up, and I called my sister and told me, hey, just come pick me up. And that was that. So I do a lot for her, but I can only do so much. And so my gut tells me that she's grown a lot, and she still has quite a ways. So
What's your gut tell you? Is she alive?
Yeah.
Because when he pulled out our picture earlier, when he first showed it, you were grinning, and I just thought that was odd, like given the circumstances.
No, I was grinning because this is one of the pictures on my phone.
Okay. I mean, is there anything else?
Yeah, I said,
No, sir.
you're our last link, man. You're our last link to Teresa.
Okay. Well, can I get your phone?
All right, Greg, what do you got?
Well, this guy finally says something true. No truer words have been spoken than I tried everything I can with you guys, because he just has thrown the kitchen sink at it. She's gone from a woman he loves to someone who's going to flower to someone who's the most faulty person on earth, and his friends lie on him. And I mean, just he's tried everything. He does more chaff and redirect at I didn't wear the Nikes, live and learn. This is a really idiotic version of something I always say is trading guilt. I'll tell you, well, I am guilty of running in a speed trap, but I didn't run over the kid, that kind of thing. That's trading guilt. But he is trying to use shoes for murder. That's a really bad one. He normalizes his lie while he's yawning. We usually think yawning is a bad indicator when a guy's in a stressful situation. He's talking about murder and he's like, well, I don't know what happened to her. You're like, hold on. Aren't you supposed to be a little concerned here? When they say, what does your gut tell you? More chaff and redirect about a tattoo artist. And then he has an epiphany on the third day. And Mark, I'm sure there'll be something in your stuff about third day. I'm sure we'll come up with it. And then he goes back to being a great humanitarian that he always has told us he is, so he must be true. I've done a lot, but I can't do any more. This is a piece of work right here. Mark, what do you see?
Yeah, I haven't got that third day epiphany for you. No stone being rolled away on that one. So, but I will talk about yawning because it's interesting that he yawns there. I don't think it's a true yawn because I think, look, yawning is a social act. Many social mammals yawn. We think it might be to do with trying to synchronize the group in order to change moods together, go to sleep together. Dogs yawn. Human beings will yawn when a dog yawns as well. If I do that now, many of you panelists have done it as well because you have empathy for me. You're in synchronization with me. If these interviewers had any empathy or synchronization, even if it were see, there's Scott, he's going, oh no, that was a cough.
Stress causes yawns too. Yeah,
absolutely. My dog yawns if there's been something stressful and she's getting over it. She'll yawn. Sometimes she'll shake like a dog shakes off water. She'll do that. I don't know what your dogs do, but it'd probably be the yawn or the shake. Some dogs get rid of their stress by just running around, hyper, crazy. Sometimes they'll do it after a bath because the bath was a big stress for them, and they'll yawn and then they'll shake, but they're shaking off the water, but sometimes they'll run around like crazy. It's to get rid of the stress of the situation. But if the interviewers here were in any kind of synchronization and he did the yawn, they would probably yawn slightly themselves and they would readjust themselves in some way. They have no synchronization or empathy for him. Why would they? He's clearly done something wrong. They know it. He knows it. Okay. And I think the yawn is an act. I don't think it's adrenal fatigue at all. And I don't think it's because he may have been up and cold. Sometimes you yawn when you're cold because it creates more heat. Sometimes you yawn when you're hot. We use it to regulate our heat as well. Anyway, a little bit of stuff on the yawning there, but clearly no empathy. And why would there be from the interviewers? Scott, what do you got in this one?
All right. I think in a nutshell, the detectives are trying to make everything okay. This is the section where they're trying to smooth everything out and make everything okay. So when he leaves there, because they can't say, all right, you're under arrest, man, we got you for this. He didn't confess to anything. He doesn't skip town. He didn't go hide. So you've got to make it so when he comes in next time, he's not expecting you to be all aggressive with him. So I think they do a great job doing that because they're explaining, hey, man, you're the last one to see him. That's why we got to talk to you about this. It's like almost as a throwaway. It sounds like after all they've been through up to this point. So I think they do a good job of it. They do a good job of tamping things back down to normal. So when he leaves, he won't mind coming back because they want to give him the impression that, he probably didn't do this. He probably didn't do it. Where they're thinking, oh, man, we got this guy. We got to figure out how to get him to talk. So again, and I'm sure that obviously they did think of something, got him to talk. How much time is he doing, Greg? Do you know?
30 years, 10 years parole. I don't think they got him to talk. I think they realized that he would be compliant and would plead. That's what I think they did. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, shoot. All right. Chase, what do you got?
I do think this is a good spot for a soft monologue Like, I think that they could have done a soft monologue here, just kind of as a test close, as to use a sales term, and see if they could get him to at least kind of give up some information. But this would be a good spot for it. Do you want me to go into? Should I go into what the monologue would be, or analysis of the clip?
I don't know, dude. It's you. You do what you want to do.
Let's do a little monologue.
You have no rules.
So just think about what he's been through. So the goal of a monologue, we want to socialize the situation, minimize how severe it is. We want to project the blame, and we want to rationalize, like it makes sense that you did this or whatever. So you might say something like a soft monologue will sound like, Nor, I don't think this was you. I really don't think this was you. Well, at least not this version of you. I think maybe something hit your system, something you didn't expect. Maybe you smoked something, and this happens a lot. Maybe it was laced. It happens all the time now. People think they're taking something mild, and it turns into something else entirely. I don't think you're in your right mind. And when the pressure came, whatever she said or didn't say, it just blurred. And with whatever happened, your brain didn't process it like normal. And that wasn't violence, North. That was panic. Your body just reacted. And it felt like she was leaving and your world was going to go with her. And that's not murder. That's a mistake. And this is something that spiraled out because chemicals are already taking you out of control completely. And I don't think you planned it. You didn't mean for it to happen. And I don't think you're a monster. I think you're just a dude who hit his limit with something dangerous in his bloodstream. And now you've been carrying that second ever since. But she's still out there. And someone's going to find her. And the question is, when they do you want them to think you're a monster? Or are you going to be the one to say it was just a mistake that went too far and that you would take it back if you could? So that's kind of a soft monologue, not too confrontational. That's what that might sound like. That's all I got. Is that everybody?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yep.
Hey, Greg, I'll give you that one. That was good.
Your story's got a lot of holes. I mean, that's just being honest with you, And you can't explain it.
Yeah, it's our job to.
Okay, I understand. I've tried everything I can with you guys. If there's anything else, more related to Teresa and helping her out, I would love to talk about it.
That's what we're trying to get to.
Yeah.
We're trying to get you to help us find Teresa.
Okay, no,
you were the last person that saw her.
Right. Okay. No,
you were the last person that
I don't understand why I didn't make sure that I wore the high top Nikes instead of the Sperry's, and it cost me my ankle, and and that's
right.
how we live and we learn.
But you understand, we're gonna come at you.
No, I
very careful because you're the last person that.
No, and I can respect that and totally understand that. Yeah.
So, if you wonder why, well, there's a lot of things that you were inconsistent about. Okay, call it lying, call it inconsistent, label it whatever you want to label it. But the evidence is there that some of the stuff you told us when we started our conversation, right, is not true. It's just not true.
I'm sure that happens a lot with this type of situation.
Well, it does,
it's so hard to recall things.
Sometimes when there's weeks in between, it's hard, but not just a few hours, At the time we started talking to you this morning, there's only been like 12 hours in between this happening. And
I'm sleep deprived now at this point. I've been kept in a room. I've been able to get sleep. It's been rough on me. If you guys want to do this again on another day, then maybe I can do it for you, but at this point, I'm done.
Are you worried about Teresa? I mean, do you think there's legit something wrong with her, or do you think she's just out there shacked up somewhere?
I'm praying that she's shacked up somewhere.
Because when you pull that,
tell you. What's your heart tell you?
We spent 2 or 3 days pretty much stuck in some guy's house. He's a tattoo, he does tattoos. His name's BJ. We went over there one day with her and her friend to get a tattoo, right? And so I was like, okay, that sounds like fun to watch her get a tattoo. We ended up spending 3 days there because the tattoo artist was not comfortable doing the tattoo. He kept messing around, pulling drugs out, obviously trying to do things, obviously trying to pull Teresa towards his way, and it ended up going day after day. And on the third day, I honestly gave up, and I called my sister and told me, hey, just come pick me up. And that was that. So I do a lot for her, but I can only do so much, and so my gut tells me that she's grown a lot, and she still has quite a ways. So
What's your gut tell you? Is she alive?
yeah.
But when he pulled out our picture earlier, when he first showed it, you were grinning, and I just thought that was odd, like given the
No,
circumstances.
I was grinning because this is one of the pictures on my phone.
Okay. I mean, is there anything else?
Yeah, I said,
No, sir.
you're our last link, man. You're our last link to Teresa.
Okay. Well, can I get your phone?
All right. Well, we've watched the videos and we've all made decisions about what we've seen and what we think about all this. Mark, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to the first video. I don't think I've seen this extreme cocooning going on in any of our videos. So, what's great about the behavior panel is we get to watch these videos and this behavior every week. And you would think we're 5 years into this, with pretty much a new episode each week. So that's a lot of content we've gone through. We've watched a lot of stuff like this. And every week, I think it's fair to say that we see something new. We see something that we haven't seen before. And that just speaks to the extraordinary nature of human beings. When they're alone or together, we have some unique behaviors, but also the extraordinary nature of human perception, which is we can find stuff. People do incredible stuff and we can see it. Together we pick up on something new. So just great set of videos, Greg. Thanks for finding those. Always good.
This was a fun one.
Yeah. Chase, what do you think?
Yeah, I think this whole thing is not a one-off moment. I think this is a life pattern for him. Guys like this, what you see here is deep insecurity covered by control. In my interrogation courses, we call this the tortilla. What is it? What's everything wrapped inside of? So it's wrapped in control right here. And it's not because there's love. It's just survival. Probably some kind of behavioral pattern stuff going on. People like Teresa don't feel like partners to him. They feel like lifelines. So the moment she starts pulling away, when she chooses friends or independence or maybe some other guy, it doesn't feel like rejection. It feels like abandonment, and that flips a switch. And this kind of jealousy isn't loud at first. It's disguised as care and concern and protection. But over time, it gets darker. It turns into like, if I can't have you, nobody will. Anyway, when possession fails, nobody else can get her. And I think that might be what we're seeing. Greg?
I think what we got is Ernie the elven dentist from the Island of Misfit Toys. I don't think he fits anywhere, and he finds ways to fit by using whatever substance. So he's fitted on his parents' patio for a while. He brings all these people into his life, and I agree with you, Chase. I think he sees them as a part of something, not as people. I think how they fit, and it may be related to whatever substance he's got in his body at the time. But this guy has done this before. I don't mean hurt somebody. I mean try to talk his way out of things, and is convinced he's good at it. However, he doesn't link things together. This is one of the dumbest guys we've ever watched. If Santos is in jail and watching this, he's probably going, oof. Ooh, because this is one of the worst liars we've ever seen in our lives. Scott, what do you got?
I really like this one. I really did, because there's so much to learn here if you watch it and watch it and watch it. Because this guy covers almost everything that we look at and find, and it all just sticks out. So just red flags everywhere. I really think this is a good learning opportunity or teaching opportunity. This one. So I really liked it. I really did. And he's just so bad at it, and these guys are just going, yeah, tell me more about that, which is great because it lets him keep going. You don't see somebody pull that off very often where they can keep getting it out of them and they just, yeah, really tell me about that. And they just keep going. I really like this one. All right, fellas, thanks for another good one, and we'll see you next time.